on time. So yes, why don't we go ahead and get started, and then folks can join.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Well, let me before we start our meeting today, I have the honor of swearing in our newest commissioner, Lori Risso. Commissioner Risso will have the opportunity to introduce herself and say a few words after she is sworn in. But I'd like to start by just giving a brief introduction. She was born and raised in Stockton, California, and has over 33 years of experience in education, including 31 years with the Stockton Unified School District. Commissioner Risso is currently the principal of a preschool through eighth grade campus. And in 2019, her school became a model for other educators all over the US as a national AVID showcase school. She graduated from University of Pacific with a liberal arts degree and a California teaching credential, and also holds a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, as well as an administrative services credential from Cal State Stanislaus. And with that, it is my pleasure to swear in Lori Risso. So if you don't mind repeating after me, I state your name.
I, Lori Risso,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations, Commissioner Risso. Thank you so much for your service. Would you like to share a few words with the commission?
I would just, as I told you, some of you, when I got on the call, I kind of cheated last night and I watched October's recording of their meeting. So I kind of know everybody from watching that video last night. So I feel like I have the little upper edge this morning and meeting you all. I'm very excited to be a part of this team. I'm very excited to put our youngest children's health, education, social, emotional well-being at the forefront. My school, you already heard a little bit about my background, but my school is a preschool through eighth grade school, and we also have TK. So I'm really excited to dive into this work. And I love the North Star statement, and I'm looking forward to rolling up my sleeves and helping us, guiding us towards the North Star.
Thank you so much. And with that, I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. The time is 10:06 a.m. And I will ask Jamie to call the roll.
Yes. Myra Alvarez. Dr. Brooke Harris.
Here.
Shana Hazen.
Here.
Elsa Jimenez.
Present.
Jackie Majors. Molly Munger.
Here.
Lori Risso.
Here.
Chris Perry.
Here.
Thank you.
And as we start these meetings, as you know, I get an opportunity to say a few words as chair in leading us into the work that we have to do today. And if you all don't mind, I'm going to ask for the commission's indulgence for a second as I take a moment to reflect in gratitude on the new year and really give thanks for the opportunity for us to gather again today in service of children and families in California. And also to acknowledge what a challenging time it has been for so many of us. It feels like the most recent COVID surge, although thankfully less virulent than past surges, has touched many of us intimately. And you know, with your forgiveness for a personal anecdote, my own 9-year-old is recently recovered from COVID, and I feel fortunate that he's doing fine. But it's a really powerful reminder for me, both as chair of this commission and as Surgeon General of our great state, of what we're all working for. Because the choice between going to work and caring for a sick child, we're trying to figure out how we're going to make things work when you can't avail yourself of childcare, is one that too many parents across this state have had to make. And I'm lucky that I have many advantages that most of the parents and families on whose behalf we are working do not. Families are struggling, and I don't think any of us needs to be reminded of that. But more than ever, they need systems of support that enable resilience in the face of extraordinary obstacles. And so with that, I just want to ground in that for a moment, and I'll turn it over to Camille for the Executive Director's report.
So, oops, thank you so much. We were on mute for a minute. Welcome and good morning, commissioners. Welcome, Commissioner Risso. We're so glad to have you join us. We had a very short Executive Director's report that's included in your electronic and in your binders. So just for a moment though, just to go over how we run our virtual meetings. Commissioners are very practiced in keeping themselves on mute during discussion and while presentations are being made. And if you will, when it comes time for commission discussion, either raise your hand physically so we can see you, or raise your hand virtually. We'll make sure that Dr. Burke-Harris knows that people are wanting to speak. A member of the public, should they wish to make a comment on any agenda item when the chair asks for public comment, if you will raise your virtual hand, Jamie Hastings will call upon you to make your comment. They are timed. We do give a timed limit, and we'll let you know when your time is close to being up. So with that,
I do.
with that, those are how we will do that. And I think if we want to go back to Dr. Burke-Harris to talk about conflict of interest,
Yes.
we can do that.
Yes, happy to do that. Please let me know, commissioners, if any agenda item presents or potentially may present a conflict of interest for you. Obtaining this information in advance will ensure that I can announce your non-participation in any aspect of that item in compliance with applicable laws. Does any commissioner want to state a conflict of interest on any of the items? Okay. Hearing none, now we'll move forward to the Executive Director's report.
Unless for mine, unless a commissioner has a question, we are providing them in order to streamline the meeting, providing them in writing. The only, so you have that as well as the personnel report. I just want to take a moment to call out that during this last quarter, we did in fact hire a new Deputy Director of Administration that oversees contracts, fiscal and administrative services. And our own Jamie Hastings was promoted into that position. So just want to give a shout out to Jamie for her taking on of new responsibilities. So Jamie's at home today, but there she is. If you could see her name. So thank you very much and good luck to that. We, as you see in the personnel report, we are moving forward with several positions and are going through that hiring process. So if Shayna, yes, sorry.
Yeah, so two quick ones, I think. So the first is, and maybe it'll show up later, but I didn't see it. Maybe it is there. Is there going to be an update on the refugee funding or the status of that? Does that come back to us today, or how it was used since the last meeting? I thought that might be in the executive director's report. So wanted to ask.
I believe Max might be able to provide an update when he presents his item later today.
Terrific. And then the other one, also a quick one around staffing, recognizing everyone is experiencing significant staffing challenges right now. I see that 2 of the positions have had to be reposted. How are we doing generally just in terms of staff capacity, and is it proving a big challenge for First Five?
In those 2 positions, yes. We're trying using the state process. There are not a lot of people currently on a list to be able to apply for those positions. Our first round didn't find us a candidate that was a good fit. So we're doing that again. We're also working with California CalHR on recruitment. They have some specific recruitment people. We've reached out to them to help us. So
Yeah, and we're also being more intentional, reaching out to universities for new grads on our personal end as well. So one of the lists literally had nobody on the list. So we had 0 applications. With that said, we have been able to hire on an evaluation person, a retired annuitant, as a research analyst to help kind of meet the gap while we are looking.
any other questions? Okay. I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Burke-Harris.
Wonderful, thank you. The First Five Association has hired Deborah Kelch as their interim First Five Association Executive Director. I'd like to give Deborah an opportunity to introduce herself and tell us about the plans moving forward to recruit a new executive director. Welcome, Deborah. Oh, is Deborah? Does she need to be made a panelist?
Yeah, it's coming through right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, commissioners. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the opportunity this morning, Chair Burke-Harris and commission members. It is true that I came on as the interim executive director at First Five Association December 1st. And I'm really excited to be here. Just to share, as you requested, a little bit about myself. So I actually retired 100% in 2020 after about 40 years, almost 40 years in health policy, primarily in health policy research. I served as legislative staff for about 15 years, most recently as chief consultant to Assembly Health. And then I was also an independent consultant focusing on county health programs, community health centers, managed care, and health insurance. And we are, as Dr. Burke-Harris suggested, we also are in a process of recruitment for the new leader of the association. We have partnered with a recruitment firm and are in the process of securing, feedback from members and partners to help us design the specs and the job description and get a sense of the kind of person we want to bring on as a leader. And the timeline is such that the hope may be that we'll be able to get through that in the next several months. We'll see. Also just an update on some of the things we're doing briefly. So we do have a new leadership team at First Five Association in our normal process for a new 2-year term of our executive committee and leadership. I don't know if I have the ability to share my screen. I don't think so. Maybe I can just do it verbally. That's fine. Our new president is Kitty Lopez. First Five.
Deborah, you have the ability to share your screen if you'd like.
Okay, but I don't see that.
She's not on the panel, so just hold on for just 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Apologies.
No worries. Oh, I clicked out of it. Look what I did. Okay, well, we'll find it here.
You should be able to share your screen now, Deborah. You
Okay,
are now.
yeah, working on it here. Okay, yes, thank you. Share screen, okay. So the president of the association is Kitty Lopez from San Mateo. Our new vice president is Fabiola Gonzalez from Fresno. Our new treasurer is Wendy Sims Moten from Santa Barbara. The policy committee chair is Alethea Argulas from San Diego. Our past president is Kim Gall from Orange. Our region representatives are Ruth Fernandez from Contra Costa, Wendy Went from San Luis Obispo, Molly Debele from Mono, Wendy Dickens from Shasta, Erica Summers from Yuba, Kim Belche from Los Angeles, and Karen Scott from San Bernardino. So we also are experiencing a transition here in our leadership, which is exciting for us. Really great group of folks coming on to help to shepherd the association. We've also adopted our policy agenda for 2022. And I'll just give you some of the highlights. Obviously, our policy priorities are in close matchup with yours. So we are focusing on infant and early childhood mental health this year. And I'll just give some highlights under each of our 4 categories. For us, focusing on increasing access to community-based services, prevention-focused, early identification, trauma-informed, and also focusing on the behavioral health workforce, which I know we're all trying to improve and work on, including implementation of the new dyadic care benefit in Medi-Cal. In the category of resilient families, we're continue to be focused on family strengthening, building on and expanding home visiting. And sorry, here now I see I'm on, okay. Building and expanding home visiting rooted in the cultural and linguistic diversity of communities, a high priority, cross-system coordination, and economic supports for families. In the category of comprehensive health and development, really raising up the needs for children's physical, mental health, and overall well-being through preventive services, care coordination, screenings, and also continuing to work on continuous Medi-Cal enrollment for children 0 to 5 to really enhance the continuity of their care. And in the priority of quality early learning, focusing on the increased access and affordability across the mixed delivery system. And First Fives here are really looking forward to working with you on early literacy programs that is kind of top of mind in this time among all these other issues, and really programs that can engage and support the family's assets and celebrate the diversity of California families. Just a few other things that we're working on. We're going to be engaging with our members and consultants to advance the systems change agenda that's embedded in our strategic plan. We are very proud of the far-reaching systems change activities and successes of all of our 58 county commissions. We look forward to partnering with you to better coordinate and achieve better outcomes. Our goal will be to assess and communicate the impact of systems change work by Local First Fives, including raising up those successes through our strategic communications plan, which is in process as we speak. And building on the expertise of our members to develop a shared understanding and a set of hallmark characteristics that will be key to achieving systems change that will help our First Fives in strengthening local systems. And finally, we are excited to be gearing up the 2022 leadership cohorts, which engage our members in leadership development and the ready work that we're doing with several, the new planning for 2022. We have a few webinars on the ready work coming up for our members in February. So that's just a brief overview, and I really appreciate the opportunity to see all of you and to get to know you. And I would just really like to raise up and share my gratitude for both Camille and Jackie, who have been extraordinary to me since I came on board. And I feel like we've really had a good line of communication, and they've been helping me get up to speed. So, and then finally, just really thanking the First Five Association staff, who we have some vacancies at our shop as well, in addition to the interim ED experience plus the recruitment process, and they are amazing, and they're all working top of game. And I know you know that about them, but I really wanted to call them out because they're pretty extraordinary. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Deborah. It's always great to hear about all of the excellent efforts of the First Five Association, and we stand in partnership. At this time, does any commissioner want to report on an advisory committee meeting in which they participated, or make any general comments on anything not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. I always like to give a good amount of time. We'll move forward to public comment. So members of the public may speak for up to 3 minutes on any non-agenda items or items not related to pending judicial, administrative litigation, or personnel matters. No action by the State Commission may be taken on this public comment. If you wish to comment, please use the raise hand function or the chat function if that's not available, and Jamie will call on the public in the order in which they signed up.
Thank you. I do have a couple people in line. Reina Patel is up first. Transferring her over now. It looks like she's maybe not responding. I can come back to her. I will go to Hugo Morales.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good morning. And I just want to welcome our new commissioner to the panel. It's wonderful to have somebody from Stockton, from the San Joaquin Valley. I'm from Fresno. I'm a Fresno First Five commissioner. It's wonderful to see also somebody who's involved and engaged in leading K through 12. I'm sorry, yeah, K through 6 school. So I have 13-year-old twin boys, so I know what firsthand what the first years of education can mean. So, and I'm also the founder and director of Radio Bilingüe, which is the National Latino Public Radio Network. And I want to speak about our role this morning with with you, the California First Five, because we've been a partner for several years now, and we look forward to continuing this partnership in the future. We have appreciated First Five's attention to our audience of farm workers and essential workers around California. We have partnered on creating and broadcasting content for Latino parents about raising their young children, the value of dual language, and the Talk and Read Sing campaign, to name a few. We understand there's a new lead marketing firm leading these efforts, and we look forward to being introduced to them and working with them. Now with the pandemic, Radio Bilingüe has also been a lead media partner to the state of California on COVID-19 outreach for farm workers and essential workers across our state. Our listeners have, of course, been impacted tragically, most significantly a number of deaths during the pandemic is just unacceptable. I am on the Governor's Office Latino Media Outreach Working Group, and Radio Bilingüe works very closely with the California Department of Public Health, reaching with the messages, obviously, about COVID and precautions and protocols and so on. And we want to thank Ms. Camille Mabin. I understand that you'll be retiring. I want to thank you for your years of commitment and your introduction to us working with Fraser in the prior engagement. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Mr. Morales.
Dr. Doug Major is up next. I have you up, but it looks like maybe you're on mute. There we go.
Good now?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Sorry you didn't get a chance to hear Dr. Patel. She's a young researcher and vision scientist. Dr. Burke Harris, welcome, and commissioners. It's great to talk to you. My name is Doug Major. I'm an optometrist in beautiful San Luis Obispo County, California. We have been involved with First Five, giving services to children since the inception in 2020. I'm an old guy in it. I was involved with the epicenter of Prop 10, getting out the votes with an interesting partnership between Rob Reiner and our local congressman, Huffington, and so Michael Huffington. And so it's been a long journey. In 2020, there was a Department of Healthcare Services change that really messed up our great little part of the world. And I began to realize that this vision care issue is statewide. And I'd like just to remind the commissioners that this whole Prop 10, now First Five issue was based on research on critical periods when vision was not available to young cats. It changed the brain. And so that idea of putting the research to work for young child development is so important. And just want to give you some great news. We've come up with a coalition of California vision advocates modeled on the similar project in Harvard back in Massachusetts. Children's Now will be the driving force in the messaging. And the ask is hopefully that the commissioners would remember their roots, that vision care is very infrequently talked about and has become a deprioritization in the state of California. And these children, particularly the young Latina and Latinos children, have profound needs before age 5. For somebody that's seen now over 100,000 of these children and see the demographics change. We need to meet the needs of this very quiet clientele. And the spokesperson is First Five. Your advocacy is there. So the ask would be hopefully a champion and one of the commissioners to maybe investigate this and ask to in the future to put it on the agenda so you can find more information through Children's Now. And my one last little elevator speech to end with. I love oral health and I work closely with oral health. But remember, baby teeth fall out and the visual brain goes on forever. And I hope you just remember that little catch. Thank you so much for all the work you do down in the trenches. We appreciate your leadership. And we are all together advocating for that initial Prop 10 coalition, unusual coalition, because the children have no political background. They are all our responsibility. Thank you so much.
Okay. Rena Patel, looks like you're on. Can you? There you go.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you for your patience.
Thank you as well. Good morning, Dr. Burke-Harris and commissioners. My name is Dr. Rena Patel. I'm an assistant professor at the Southern California College of Optometry at Marshall B. Ketchum University. I'm also a clinician scientist and am involved in numerous research studies related to children's vision. I'm extremely passionate about children's vision, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to make a public comment on this topic today. I am sure you are aware of the importance of early vision care and how visual deficits can negatively affect brain development. But did you know that the American Optometric Association recommends babies should have their first eye and vision assessment at 6 months of age? At this first examination, I evaluate the baby's eyes to make sure they are developing normally. I check for near or farsightedness, astigmatism, lazy eye, crossed eyes, and I also evaluate the health of the eyes. In rare but extreme cases, conditions such as cancer may be detected in a baby's eyes. While this is a very rare finding, I myself have actually detected eye cancer in 2 babies. The silver lining in both cases, however, is that thankfully the condition was diagnosed early, so treatment and intervention was also provided early, which helped lead to a much better visual and overall health outcome for these very young children. There's a national public health program called Infancy, which is designed to ensure that vision care become an integral part of infant wellness. Under this program, optometrists provide an eye and vision assessment for infants 6 to 12 months of age at no cost. Also worth noting is that the Affordable Care Act covers an eye exam for every child, yet many people are unaware of this benefit. So unfortunately, many children are not getting the eye care they need. A few years back, a landmark study funded by the National Institutes of Health, NIH, was done to determine the prevalence of vision disorders in children here in California. Specifically looking at preschool age children of African American and Hispanic descent, they found that these children had about a 10% prevalence of significant farsightedness or difficulty seeing well at near. If severe enough and left untreated, it may even lead to permanent vision loss. Another NIH-funded study found that preschool and kindergarten children with a certain amount of uncorrected farsightedness were found to have a significantly worse performance on a test of early literacy when compared to children with little to no farsightedness. Now it's not just a vision problem, but a deficiency in the essential skills necessary for learning to read, all of which can be easily treated if caught early enough. It's all about early proven interventions for effective parenting, children's early and appropriate.
Forgive me, Dr. Patel, but you have about 15 seconds. Sorry.
Okay, well then that's okay. If I could end on a little bit of a personal note, I'm a relatively new mother and I had a baby boy in 2018 and another baby in 2020. When my first son was born, I appreciated the kit for new parents that was provided by First Five. So thank you for everyone that put together that project. And when I was looking through all of those items, I recall thinking how amazing it would have been to see an informational brochure highlighting the importance of early eye care in that kit. As a new mom, I was soaking in all parenting information that came today. So that would be something fantastic. As an optometrist who specializes in pediatrics, a clinician scientist, and a mother to 2 young children, I wholeheartedly believe that First Five, as early childhood advocates, should make children's vision a top priority and hopefully include it as an agenda item for a future commission meeting. Thank you so much for your time.
I don't have any other speakers at this time.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. Thank you very much, Dr. Patel. We'll now move forward to the consent calendar, which is item 3 on the agenda. Items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and enacted by one motion followed by a vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the commission, audience, or staff requests specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Any agenda item removed will be voted upon following the motion to approve the consent calendar. Does a commissioner or a member of the public wish to pull an item? Okay, hearing none. Jamie, I'm just confirming from the.
Correct. I don't
Okay.
have any requests.
Wonderful. In that case, we'll go ahead and call for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hazen. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Jimenez, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Jimenez. Jamie, do you want to call the roll?
Yes. Myra Alvarez, Dr. Burke Harris,
Aye.
Shayna Hazen, Elsa Jimenez,
Aye.
Jackie Majors, Molly Munger,
Aye.
Lori Russell.
I'm going to recuse myself of this one since I'm new to the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, the motion is passed and the consent calendar is approved. And now we will move forward to the regular agenda. So we will have our protocol for action items includes staff presentations, questions from the State Commission, public comment, deliberation, and voting by the commission. There'll be a 3-minute per person time limit during the public comment. So we will go ahead and move forward to the election of the vice chair. Commission Vice Chair Munger has come to the end of her term and will be leaving the commission when a new commissioner is appointed. So this item is for the election of a new vice chair, and some of the duties of the vice chair include, but are not limited to, assuming the duties of the commission chair in her absence, involvement in the executive advisory committee meetings and participation in tasks with the chair as they arise. And I'd like to propose that we proceed with nomination and the election in the following manner, which would be by unanimous consent. So we will be accepting nominations for the position. And then after the nominations are received and closed, we will proceed to a voice vote. Each voting member of the commission may vote yes for one nominee. If we receive more than one nominee, the nominee with the majority of yes votes, if we receive more than one nomination for the position, we'll vote on the nominees in order of their nomination. And when a nominee receives the majority of yes votes, that commissioner is elected to the position of vice chair. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and call for nominations. Commissioner Munger.
I'm going to nominate.
Yes, I would like to nominate Shayna Hazen, Commissioner Hazen, for this position. I've worked with her on several committees. She has a lot of seniority and has been a wonderful commissioner. She'd be a wonderful vice chair.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Munger. Are there any additional nominations? Okay, hearing none, we will proceed to a vote. I imagine. Jamie, do you want to call the roll?
Yes, Myra Alvarez, Dr. Burke Harris,
Aye.
Shayna Hazen,
Aye.
Elsa Jimenez,
Aye.
Jackie Majors, Molly Munger,
Aye.
Lori Risso.
Aye.
Thank you.
And with that, the motion is carried. Congratulations, Vice Chair Hazen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to continuing this important work.
And now we'll move forward to the information items. First Five California staff will present information on these items, and no action will be taken by the commission. So Camille, do we want to invite Marcia Thomas, the director of our Fiscal Services Office, to present?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, she's coming in right now.
And we'll be sharing slides from here for Marcia.
Great.
Yeah, there are the slides and Marcia. There she is.
Perfect.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good morning, commissioners. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I have a few financial updates to share, but first I wanted to take a moment to talk about the budget retreat. We moved the timing of the retreat to accommodate a new executive director and the governor's proposed budget. We are anticipating the budget retreat will occur in late March, early April, sorry. And we're working with commissioners' assistants to secure a date. I look forward to working with the Fiscal Advisory Committee in planning the budget retreat. As part of preparing for the budget retreat, later this morning, staff will provide an overview of our First Five California program investments. This information will provide commissioners with foundational knowledge for deeper conversations on future investments that will take place at the budget retreat. Now on to the current fiscal status. This slide was added to show the percentage allocation per Health and Safety Code, section 130105. It displays a 20% allocation to the separate accounts that the State Commission administers: mass media, education, childcare, research and development, unallocated, and the administration account. As you can see, for an example, the 6% of our funding required to be spent on mass media communication is 30% of our budget. Next slide. So this slide here shows the fluctuation of revenue across the months. It demonstrates the lack of a consistent pattern or trend in the Prop 10 revenue transfers for the past 3 years. For the current fiscal year, California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, known as CDTFA, has completed the revenue transfers for Prop 10 for the months of July through December. The overall amount transferred to the California Children and Family Trust Fund was $142.5 million, with the State Commission receiving $28.5 million. CDTFA is current in the Proposition 10 transfer of funding. Similar to the past 2 years, November came in low at 8.3 million total funds transferred. This can be attributed to November's holiday schedule, which shortens the processing time for remitting revenue to the State Controller's Office, but it can also be attributed to purchasing trends. The purchase of cigarette tax stamps, which are tax stamps distributors purchase from CDTFA and affixed to each package of cigarettes before distribution, was low for the months of October and November of 2021. The assumption is distributors had sufficient stock on hand and there was not a need to purchase additional stamps. This week, along with the First Five Association, we met with CDTFA to discuss the past 6 months of revenue transfers. CDTFA confirmed the decrease in revenue compared to this time last year. They have engaged their program team to look at trends. However, the reason for the decline is based on loose assumptions. Since distributors have been purchasing less cigarette stamps, it could be cigarette sales are down, and the small uptick that we saw in revenues last year may not be what we see this year due to current events such as the pandemic and the economy. Again, these are all assumptions. Both CDTFA and First Five California will continue to monitor the revenues and hold quarterly meetings to discuss what we are seeing in revenue trends. In addition to receiving Prop 10 revenue for July through December, we've also received the Prop 56 backfill transfer from CDTFA. The amount of the transfer was 96.7 million, which was higher than what the Department of Finance's projection was back in May of 2021, which was 93.464 million. That's approximately a 3% increase. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the projections the Department of Finance provided us back in May, showing the revenue with and without the impacts of SB 793, which bans retailers from selling menthol and most flavored tobacco products and enhancers. SB 793 was signed by the governor on August 28, 2020. On January 22nd, 2021, the California Secretary of State qualified the referendum challenging SB 793. The referendum is on the ballot for the November 2022 election. As a result of the referendum, the implementation of SB 793 has been postponed pending the outcome of the election. After discussion with the First Five Association, we agreed having an independent analysis of Department of Finance's projections would be helpful in decision-making moving forward. The association approved a contract with Brad Williams of Capital Matrix Consulting to do a deeper analysis around the assumptions and methodology of Prop 10 revenues. Brad will provide his report at our budget retreat, but he is also with us today to provide a short update on his preliminary analysis surrounding the Prop 10 revenue projections. The next slide. This slide represents the projected 21-22 revenues based on the Department of Finance's forecast in May of 2021. For Prop 10, we're projecting 330 million. And so far in the first 6 months, we received 142.5 million. In comparison to the first 6 months of 2021, that transfer amount being 155 million for the first 6 months, there's been an 8% decline. Next slide, please. This slide is showing CDTFA's adjustments to Prop 10 revenue for administrative costs and annual backfill. But before any funding is transferred for First Five California and the county commissions, CDTFA determines their administrative costs and the annual backfill to Prop 99 and the Breast Cancer Fund and reduces the Prop 10 transfer. The total 21-22 annual backfill was transferred from Prop 10 in December, and that amount was 12.167 million. This slide also shows the estimated amount of administration costs for CDTFA for this fiscal year, which is 9.5 million. As a result of our quarterly meetings with CDTFA and the association, we were able to have them evenly distribute the administrative costs over an 11-month period, so the state commission and the counties could better plan their budgets. Next slide, please. This slide shows our year-end summary of expenditures and revenues by account for fiscal year 2021. A few of the accounts show expenditures in 2021 exceeding revenue received. The State Commission approved these expenditures based on prior year balances, also referred to as our prior year carryover. Next slide, please. Okay, this is our last chart, which shows our carryover revenue and committed expenditures for current year and an additional 4 years. Impact 2020 sunsets in June of 2023, so our committed expenditures decline in 24-25 and 25-26. For this commission meeting, we do not have any current asks. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Brad Williams to make a few remarks about his work with First Five California. At the conclusion of his presentation, we would be happy to answer questions.
Great, thank you, and good morning to all of you. Yeah, I'm just would like to report a little bit on what I've been doing since I signed the contract with First Five relating to this evaluation of I think I saw it as two things. One is the sort of underlying trend in tobacco-related revenues, and then specifically the impact of SB 793 if it survives the referendum and goes into effect following this November's vote. So far, I've met with the Department of Finance, gone through their assumptions, have met with staff of CDTFA to go through their data sources and the past analyses that they have done on various policies affecting tobacco consumption and sales. And I've gone through and developed my own statistical regression-based model that looks at the historical relationships between tobacco sales and various factors, adult population, importantly, the impacts of the various tax increases and other policies that have been put into effect, historically. And and then the last thing I did is I have developed preliminary estimates, and I plan to update these for your budget meeting in the spring. My conclusion so far, and they are preliminary, is that I think the near-term impact of SB 793 flavor ban, if it does survive the challenge and go into effect, is probably less than the Department of Finance estimate. I think it's probably, when you get a full year effect, more in the range of $25 to $30 million impact relative to the baseline versus Department of Finance's estimate of over 50 million. And let me just go through quickly how I have reached this preliminary conclusion. Going through the literature review, looked for impacts of similar types of bans in other jurisdictions across the US and other countries. And I think the most on-point study, most thorough study that I was able to find was one that was done by a team of US and Canadian researchers of the impact of the ban put in place on menthol smoking in particular in Canada, in 7 of the different provinces in Canada between 2016 and 2018. So they had a pretty good panel of smokers, both pre-ban and post-ban, and same smokers, and they followed them. And they had it divided between smokers of menthol cigarettes pre-ban and non-menthol cigarettes post-ban. And they had pretty good data on what happened over that time at follow-up, which was around 2019, 2020. And it was a point in time, so we don't know, for example, how many of the folks that quit stayed quit and how many went back. But at least as of the point in time for these estimates, it looked like the majority of menthol smokers ended up becoming non-menthol smokers. The addiction is strong. And I think out of the total, about 60% of the menthol smokers were smoking non-menthols at the end. That compared to 84% of the non-menthol smokers that still reported smoking at that period. So that's more like a 30% reduction if you look at those two. And it might even be a little less than that in California because menthol smokers had a lot of options to continue smoking menthols. I mean, one of it being the key thing was many of them reported continuing to purchase menthol cigarettes from First Nation tribes. And so if this 793 ban goes into effect, I think one of the key questions is going to be, what do the tribes in California do? Do they follow the lead of state policies and stop selling the cigarettes, which they've tended to follow state policies, not in every instance, but they have in the past, or do they continue to sell them? And then the second important question is, if they continue to sell them, does the state continue to tax the menthol cigarettes? It would seem, I'm not an attorney, but looking at the language of SB 793, it would seem like those cigarettes would continue to be taxable if sold. So I think that all suggests that maybe the impacts are going to be a bit less. So I think that, that's the near term. The longer term trends, and maybe even there, it's not so longer term. It's kind of like what's going on earlier. And I think in the previous presentation, you saw the challenges that you face and the challenges I faced in trying to determine what the underlying trend is. We know nationally and to some extent in California that the long-term downward trend, which if you separate out the impacts of tax increases and so forth, has been in the range of 2.5% to 3% per year. We know that changed in 2020-21 during the early stages of the pandemic. You saw the effects of that in slightly higher collections in the 2021 fiscal year. The question I think that we're all facing is that more an early pandemic anxiety related sort of phenomena where existing smokers smoked more, maybe some more folks took it up. But then, as we move ahead and the anxiety fades, that, we kind of go back to the earlier trends, or is there a more fundamental shift going on, especially among the younger smokers? And there's been a lot of anecdotal stories about that smoking is suddenly cool again amongst that group to some extent, that, vaping is sort of the concern that vaping is sort of a gateway, and we're starting to see some of the folks that started vaping now taking up smoking. And so there's been sort of speculation, and there is concern in the part of the public health community that this is the beginning of a longer term sort of uptick. California never experienced an uptick actually in 2021 in smoking, as far as I can tell. It looks like the small increases that you saw was more related to the other tobacco products and a very tiny decline in cigarettes. But under any circumstances, the administrative data we're seeing for the second half of 21 through December does seem to suggest right now that phenomena was sort of limited, at least here in California. And the declines have been kind of striking in the second half of the year. And I know that the month-to-month data is volatile, that distributors purchase, and pay taxes in sort of a lumpy fashion. But it's been going on long enough now that it kind of feels like we're going back to trend. So this is something that having a few more months worth of data by the time you meet in the spring will be helpful to both of us in sort of looking at that longer term trend. But right now, if I had to guess, I would guess that we're sort of reverting back to the longer term trend. So I think the bottom line is, maybe a bit less reduction in the near term if SB 793 passes, but you're still looking at a diminished revenue source. And, I think thankfully a diminished amount of smoking and tobacco usage over the longer term. And again, I will refine these estimates as I move towards your spring meeting. So happy to answer any questions or can move on.
Just a comment that the campaign against the referendum launched today, and it seems like from previous battles with tobacco and Prop 10, they've come out on the losing end many times. And I think for purposes of planning and getting ready for the retreat, that to continue to play out this scenario where the ban is in place and there is a fiscal impact is wise. I'm really happy to see you here, Brad, and I appreciate your expertise and your ability to go in and check some of those assumptions so we're making good decisions about the future revenue. But it does seem probable that tobacco won't win this fight, and I think that's good for Californians, and it's good for families and kids, but it puts some new pressure on all of us to come up with new ways of continuing to support families through new partnerships or other means. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez has her hand up.
Great, thank you, Brad, for that overview. I do look forward to future discussions on this as We all know we rely heavily on these revenue sources to invest in our children and families. And on the public health side, we want fewer people to smoke. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. So progress in public health in terms of reducing those that begin to use tobacco products and really negatively impacts our ability to really support our children and families. May I ask a specific question on attachment B of item 5? Is it okay if I ask that? Okay, great. So in reviewing the tables provided, I had some questions with respect to some of the initiatives that are funded through the end of the current year, but then are slated to be zero in years out. Specifically, I had a question on the dual language learning pilot study and wondering kind of what next steps on that are, as well as the home visiting study and home visiting coordination efforts, and wondering if this is the time to raise my question or if there's another point during the agenda that my questions could be answered. Thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez, at a later item, we will be reviewing our current investments and potential future investments. So we didn't want to get ahead, but there would be a more full presentation and discussion later in item number 8.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And with that, any other questions or comments?
There's a chat. I don't know, do we know?
We don't answer questions in the chat. Let's see. I do have public comment, Dr. Burke Harris, when you're ready.
Yes. Why don't we go ahead with that?
Okay. Dan Berman, I will switch you over to speak.
Thank you. Should I speak now?
Yes.
Okay. I just had a question on the last slide, the projected revenue and expenditures by fiscal year. Just wanted to make sure I was understanding that right. It looks like the prior year carryover grows a lot in the farthest 2 years out in that slide. But if I'm understanding right, it's because the committed expenditures in those farther out years, they haven't been committed yet because it's so far out. But in fact, as the commission continues to make commitments farther out into the future, that's not actually the expectation that that carryover will grow like that. I hope that question makes sense. Thank you.
Yes. Dan, that is correct. And when programs sunset, that money goes back into those categories and will be available for the commission to make future investments. So you're correct.
I do not have any other public comment at this time.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And with that, we'll move forward to item 6, the state and federal budget and legislative update. Earlier this month, Governor Newsom released his January budget and included major investments in early learning and care. Max Vargas is here to present us with the state and federal budget and legislative update. Max?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. As noted, I'll be providing a legislative and budget update, and I'm also happy to have the opportunity to introduce on the federal side our new federal advocacy contractor shortly. So first, in terms of framing and attachments to this item, We've included our children's policy agenda, which was formulated by staff with input and prioritization provided by the Legislative Advisory Committee, or LAC. So this is the policy agenda that helps structure our approach to budget legislative proposals across a number of issue areas. I think in this particular version, some areas of note from this latest iteration is the prioritization of economic security and support policies that impact resiliency of families, whether that be in the form of tax credits, paid leave, basic income, et cetera, as well as a continued emphasis on the areas of parent engagement, nurturing relationships, and access to supportive programs like home visiting. In addition, in the policy agenda, we also lift up the importance of new investments, such as doula services, early childhood mental health, universal developmental behavioral health, and ACEs screenings, and emphasize the importance of accessible, high-quality mixed delivery, preschool, and care for all low-income 3- and 4-year-old children. So there's just some areas of note as we look to strengthen and grow our focus on the policy agenda front. Now, on the legislative front in particular, there are a number of bills we are tracking and we'll be sharing with the LAC. Listed in the item are some of the notable ones relating to child health, early learning, and family resiliency. I'll touch on just a few now, but happy to take any feedback on these or others as well. I would note that given the timing, many bills are still being introduced, and even since the agenda item was put together, a few bills such as AB 791, 1361, and 65 that we were tracking have since died or been tabled. But to touch on just some of import, whether we've been following very closely, we have AB 470, is Assemblymember Carrillo bill, which would be a 2-year bill that we've previously supported, which would look to eliminate the asset limit for Medi-Cal programs. It's been a move it's been touted by anti-poverty advocates because it would allow families to essentially be more financially secure without having to worry about losing healthcare access. It's something that's kind of grown even more prominent and concerning during the pandemic as folks have had to do, have been impacted by its fallout. On the early learning front, there is a bill by Assemblymember Quick-Silva, AB 1649, which would give childcare providers more financial stability and allow them to be reimbursed for hours of need as opposed to attendance. Again, something that's become kind of more notable and pronounced during the pandemic, given concerns around absences and exposure concerns and the like that affected a lot of providers. Meanwhile, we have measures like AB 321 by Assemblymember Valadares, which would help provide state preschool enrollment priority for children whose home language is a language other than English. So again, looking to address some of the equity gaps therein. And this would be in scenarios where there are no other families with exceptional needs and weight. So adding a language other than English as another form of prioritization. Finally, I would add, there's a recently introduced bill by Senator Skinner that didn't make the packet here, but had just been introduced as SB 854, which would aim to establish HOPE account programs, essentially a baby bond program to provide eligible children who have lost a parent or caregiver to COVID with a trust fund account, and would also then direct departments to explore what it would take to expand the program to foster children over time. I think notable in a proposal like this, sort of a new proposal, is that it looks to kind of disrupt the cycle of intergenerational poverty and address some of the persistent racial wealth gaps that hamper resilience and child well-being. So something that certainly fell on our radar, in part because of some of the prioritization from the policy agenda. Then on the state budget front, the governor's proposed $286.4 billion budget, again with another historic surplus, has been dubbed the California Blueprint, builds on last year's budget to advance health and well-being for California's youngest children. On this front, it's a budget this size and has many different components, but I want to touch on childcare, UTK, some of the mental health investments, and of course, early literacy that's included. So on the childcare front, the proposal would include over $823 million for 36,000 additional subsidized childcare spaces. It would also provide $373 million to subsidize a full year of rate increases while the state continues to work towards comprehensive rate reform. And it would also propose $308 $0.4 million to ensure state preschool programs can meet the needs of students with disabilities and dual language learners. On the UTK front, a lot of movement afoot. This budget continues to support last year's investments with a $1 billion proposed investment this year. This is kind of comprised of $639 million to expand UTK eligibility for an additional 56,000 young children across California, and $383 million to add an additional educator to every TK classroom. So big movements building again on top of the investments made last year. On the mental health front, there are a litany of great investments. A few of them proposed include a $10.6 million for the California Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health Consultation Program, $176 million to support access to women's health services, as well as the developmental and ACEs screenings. We lift that one up in particular, given the screenings and ACEs intersection. And then $135 million to extend Medi-Cal provider trainings for conducting ACEs screenings. So I think we're looking at some of the system level investments that are being made around ACEs and mental health considerations. And then, of course, on the early literacy front, which is particularly salient to our work, the governor's proposed a suite of early learning investments, including $10 million in one-time general fund dollars for CDPH to partner with First 5 California on the Books for Children program. Notably, this proposal calls for collaboration with other state programs, such as home visiting, childcare, early childcare centers, and foster care, which are vitally important, particularly given our approach and emphasis on kind of whole child, whole family, and whole community. As referenced, this is an investment that is part of a broader suite of early learning investments and early literacy investments in particular. So they're looking to address some of the persistent learning and achievement gaps, and some of which may have even been magnified given the pandemic and its impacts to children and families. So this also includes $500 million in one-time funds for literacy coaches and interventions in high-need schools, as well as $200 million in one-time funding for LEAs to expand multilingual school resources and support. So we've had a long history of work in the literacy space, including our well-known and effective Talk Read Sing campaign, and even in book distribution efforts via the Kit for New Parents and other outreach efforts. So it's a space we feel comfortable weaving literacy resources and positive family interaction. We see value and importance in that level of work. But I will let Erin Doobie from our team, who's going to share more in depth around some of the background of our early literacy work and our strength in that space when we get to item 7, which is to follow. But that is a bit of the encapsulation for the state budget as well. If there are no pressing questions, I'm happy now to introduce Leticia or Leti Mederos, Senior Managing Director of Clark Hill's Government and Regulatory Affairs Practice, to introduce herself as our new federal advocacy contractor with Clark Hill and to provide an update on the federal landscape, which we're now excited to jump into.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, as Max said, I'm Letty. Just call me Letty, please. And I'm delighted to have joined First 5 on this federal project side of things. Just a quick, brief introduction. I just recently retired from Congress last year, and I had the privilege of working for Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro for almost 15 years, where I went to work for her because of my passion for childcare. Back in 2002, she was a lead on the Childcare Caucus back then, and had done a lot of work for Senator Chris Dodd as his chief of staff. So that led to a wonderful career on the Hill, where I got to be director of labor policy for George Miller in the Committee of Ed and Labor, and also 3+ years for Senator Patty Murray at HELP. And my last stint was as Ms. DeLauro's chief of staff. You know, I was in the Congress. I went to work because I was irate about welfare reform in 1996, and my passion was social policy and helping families and working parents. And when I retired last year, I was so lucky to find work with the national childcare groups like National Women's Law Center, 0 to 3, CLASP. I also work with the Diaper Bank Network. So it's just been a gift to pursue this policy. You know, I handled the labor HHS appropriations for almost a decade through very, very barren times during the Bush years, where, you know, I usually offered an amendment of $35 million and it was turned down. And I'll talk about appropriations in this current environment later. So I'm just thrilled, and I'm dying to learn more about California. I know a little bit, but you know, it's sort of about all the wonderful work you're doing at the state level. I was told you'd be interested in an update on the Build Back Better. And as you know, the Build Back Better package that really involved all the work last year trying to get it done, got through the House November 19 after many resurrections and deaths. You know, you may remember there was a deadline at the end of September for Build Back Better in the House, and there was another deadline at the end of October. And finally, Speaker Pelosi and her, you know, obsessive commitment to get things through, like no one I've seen. She got it through the House November 19. And it stands in the Senate, where right before the holidays, Senator Manchin said that he was not on board. And all the trouble in terms of legislation at the federal level stems from the fact that the numbers in the Senate are 50-50. And even though so-called majority are in the hands of Democrats, really the other side of the other political party has unbelievable leverage, especially when we have 50 senators, but 1 or 2 that are not fully on board on the agenda. So I can't tell you how much work went into last year in terms of, or maybe you know, of getting this Build Back Better bill through, and the momentum that we had until, you know, 3rd week of December. And when you know, it was just obvious that we did not have the 50 votes in the Senate to get it through. Having said that, let me update you. And just quickly, if you need fact sheets, summaries on all the amazing stuff that's in Build Back Better, just briefly, it is an investment as it passed the House of $400 billion to help the cost for families, to help build a state infrastructure. It would be $100 billion in the first 3 years and then turn into an entitlement program. It would increase wages for workers and health providers across the board. And it helps families up to 250% of state median income. It's very high. And that's been a whole thing in the Congress and a point of contention as to the level of income that it will serve families. But we're at the point right now where the question is, do Senate Democrats go back to the drawing board and build a new Build Back Better package when the president a few days ago said that it was going to be broken up in chunks? Really, it cannot be broken up in too many chunks because it's a reconciliation bill, meaning it is large by definition. And it is in play because of reconciliation of parliamentarian processes until September 30. It is live. So it's not dead. And we have until September 30 to finish the reconciliation process, which has to do with the budget and the Budget Act of 1974. So I believe from all the conversations and everything I've heard, consensus is around having climate provisions, many healthcare provisions, dealing with ACA, Medicaid, prescription drugs, and even money for Puerto Rico, and the investment on childcare and universal pre-K. So those are the things that I think we'll start with. And the good news is Senator Manchin, we have 49 Democrats. Senator Manchin supports childcare and pre-K. He talks a lot about pre-K, but when you talk to him and his staff, he means childcare and pre-K. And what he's arguing for is a permanency. He wants permanent programs. So I mentioned before there will be like an investment of $400 billion. A permanent program in this reconciliation bill would mean $750 billion. So there's a big numbers issue for the HELP committee that Senator Murray leads, because if they do that, then she can't do anything else in her jurisdiction. That means other things like in higher ed would be out the window, because she would have to find the 750 billion. Now, without getting too much in the weeds, but I do want you to know, if the Senate goes to conference with the House on this reconciliation package, then committees can cross-pollinate, and the Ways and Means Committee could provide the funding needed for permanency. That is still up for question. And that has to do with reconciliation rules. I do believe, and here where I am in the city of DC, lots of lobbyists, lots of negativity. I'm not going to be negative, to be honest. I think we're going to get this done somehow, some way, at some point, because it is too transformative across the board. And I think the members of Congress who, are elected officials and are all about, self-defense and getting reelected, understand the need to get this done. So the question right now is, who approaches Mr. Manchin, when, how, all that stuff. He walked away upset for whatever reason. We don't need to go into it, but somebody will, and there'll be a plan, and he'll come back to the table. And I think whether it's by the State of the Union, I'm not sure, or whether it's by April, I think we will get this package done, and I think it'll have a robust investment in childcare and universal pre-K. So quickly switching over to a quick update on appropriations. Thank you, Hugo. Appropriations is sort of my passion, because no matter what happens in the Congress, these bills have to get done. The federal government has to be funded. And it really, in the past decade or so, it's total breakdown of the process. And I worked really hard all of 2020 in the middle of the COVID pandemic to help Ms. DeLauro become chair of that committee. And I can't tell you what a dream that is. That's just like an unbelievable thing. She was elected in 1990 and was in appropriations basically almost like 28 years of the 30. And to be chair is like such an amazing thing to do so much good, because each line item has so much money, and money is policy, and money is benefits and resources for families. So those bills that came out of the House, and she got all those bills through in the appropriations process through the House, those bills are loaded up with funding for childcare and early learning. Just to go through very quickly, the Child Care Development Block Grant has an increase of $1.5 billion over last year. Head Start has an increase of $1.4 billion over last year. The Preschool Development Grants is funded at $450 million, an increase of $175 million. The Senate is almost the same, maybe a little less, maybe $100 million less on each CCDBG and Head Start, same on the preschool grants. But the Senate came in very high too. And that is what's at stake in terms of the appropriations process. Now, Republicans do not want to play on the process. They are sitting on their hands. They've been sitting on their hands for most of the year, and have said that if Build Back Better passes, they're not going to come to the table on appropriations. I can't express how much that's a dereliction of duty, to not come to the table to get these negotiations done. This is the first year that we don't have a budget cap, that these numbers are not capped. They have been since 2010. You may remember the Budget Control Act of 2011. We had caps, we had rescissions, we had sequestration. So this year is really important that we don't go to a whole year continuing resolution, and the level of funding is to 21, which is the last budget of the Trump years. The latest is Republicans have sent Democrats, Senate Republicans have sent Democrats an offer on top line numbers for appropriations to get negotiations done. And Democrats are reviewing it. We need agreement on each subcommittee, on each bill to go to conference. And it's believed that it is possible within reach next week. So we're feeling hopeful about that. And we think that there's a window of opportunity. Right now, there's a funding resolution till February 18. We think there'll be another continuing resolution, maybe into mid-March. Some have said April 7. I think that's too late. And then we can get the appropriations process done. Let me just do a caveat. At any point, the whole thing could fall apart, and it would be a huge loss. If you do federal policy these days, it's really living in uncertainty, like the rest of the world, you know. But the only certain thing is uncertainty, and it is because of the very close numbers in the House and in the Senate. Really, no one's in control, you know, and that makes the process very, very difficult. One more tiny thing I wanted to mention, you could probably see a proposal on like a response to Build Back Better from Republicans in the next week or two. I believe that they will put forward a proposal that will fund CCDBG, maybe a little more than current levels. They will argue that we do not need a transformative investment into childcare, that we can keep doing what we're doing, and that all we need to do is fund CCDBG at a higher level. Clearly not the answer. Huge fan of CCDBG. If Build Back Better passes, CCDBG will be serving kids from 6 to 13. Very important part of the system, but not the answer to transform the system, as you know. I'll definitely be sharing information as soon as that comes out. I'm happy to answer your questions or comments or complaints, grievances. I'm happy to answer them.
Commissioner Parrott?
Thank you for the overview and the insight. That's great. What is the unique role of First Five California in advocating for Build Back Better in its current form or future form? As one person in that group of folks that want this, is there some, what's the value proposition of First Five California at this time? In other words, how will you leverage, or how can you leverage members of the commission or, you know, the community in California to assist in getting that over the finish line?
I think, you know, across the board, as an organization, it is important for you guys to add your voices to the debate and keep the pressure. Either if it's like with, you know, and I had a list of things that you guys could do, we could do. You can weigh in with the White House to make an issue for the State of the Union and talk about childcare. Maybe invite a childcare provider to sit with the First Lady. You can do something called like a capital chat, where you invite a childcare provider or parent via social media channels. We could just, I think if you're willing to play on the field of awareness and social media and events, First Five can add its voice in a very big way to the debate. Because I would tell you that the national groups, you know, they're doing it and they're revamping the effort, but it is hard, and it's a moment of lost momentum. So there's, if you guys come in and keep the pressure up, it would be very helpful. I don't think you need to voice your support with the delegation in the House, because, you know, they're there.
But that said, the minority leader is from California, and a number of other important Republicans are from California. And the reason that we're having this trouble with the Senate is that we are, you know, it's 50-50. We have been unable to convince Senate Republicans to care about this the way we do. So when you think about the numbers and you think about some of the Republican leaders in California and how influential they are, is there anything that the First Five county commissions in Kern or Riverside or San Bernardino or Orange could be doing to help? And I'm not suggesting that they don't already do this, but this is such a critical moment. I just wanted to get your sort of ability, how much time do you have to help with that kind of dot connecting with the Republican delegation, and in the hope that there's a bank shot there from a member of the House to the Senate. You know, Kevin McCarthy is a very influential Republican, and he is just a few hours away from Sacramento. So thoughts on that?
You know, Chris, I think, you know, I wish I could say, oh, absolutely, there's a possibility there, but there isn't. This is a completely partisan exercise, and the Build Back Better package it's going through reconciliation because it has to pass on 51 votes, and all Republicans voted against it in the House. And they're just not interested in this package, and they're not interested in policy right now. So I wish I had a different answer for that.
I appreciate that. I'm glad. I just wanted to hear you respond and see if maybe I missed something.
Yeah, because I mean, if in the Senate we could have convinced Lisa Murkowski or Susan Collins, in 2001, Democrats, gave 2 or 3 votes to the Bush tax cuts on the surplus, no problem. Can we find Republicans to do that on this transformative package? Apparently not so much,
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Letty. And on that note, I think we'll conclude the state federal budget and legislative update and turn it over to Camille to introduce the next item.
I think I'm actually going to turn it over back to Dr. Burke-Harris and let her go ahead with this meeting.
Camille, if I might say something, I would like to make a comment on this presentation, which is I would like to thank our new Washington, D.C. person, Leticia. I think that was a wonderful depiction of what's going on, and you certainly seem to me to be very well chosen. I want to congratulate Max on bringing you on. I want to thank Chris, without whom we wouldn't have this person, because Chris was years ago banged on the drum and said, we need to get represented in the federal government. And I just feel like, we may not win immediately here, but we're going to win eventually. And this is a great moment for early childhood. Just California alone, just Max's presentation alone. How uplifting was this? To hear from Max what's going on in our state is a dream for all of us old timers. And to have somebody as able as Leticia fighting a very hard battle, but we couldn't be better represented, So anyway, I feel really good about it, and I want to thank everybody involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And congratulations to California for reinstating the emergency paid leave provision. We're at the federal level trying to fight for that too. It's very needed. So, California leads the way, and I'm really proud to work with you guys, and I'm very excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liddy, and thank you, Commissioner Munger. And now we will move forward to item 7, the First 5 California early literacy efforts. As we heard from Max, Governor Newsom's January budget calls for First 5 California to partner on an early literacy effort. And as part of that process, Aaron Dubé is going to talk with us about the previous and future First 5 California early literacy efforts. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. So I am pleased to present this item on early literacy as an opportunity to invest in a strategy to achieve our North Star and promote safe, stable, and nurturing environments and relationships for children in California. This is an information item to provide you with some background and ideas around how this funding could support a statewide targeted early literacy program, and we will come back in April with a formal request for funding. Do I have someone who is going to pull the slide deck up, or would you like me to share?
Yes.
Simon is going to pull it up in a second.
Okay, great. And I want you to be able to follow along, but in the interest of time, I think I'm going to start on the second slide here around the current opportunity. So why are we coming to you now with an item on early literacy? As some of you may recall, we have presented previously items focusing on early literacy and book distribution. And in 2020, the commission approved redistribution of existing contract funds to support the California Family Book Distribution Partnership. But as we head into a third year of the COVID-19 pandemic, when children and families have experienced isolation and extreme stress, we see early literacy as an important strategy to help families bond, create nurturing spaces and moments between parent and child, and provide mitigation against adverse childhood experiences. A regular book reading promotes serve and return responsive communication between young child and an adult, and creates an opportunity for nurturing interactions and builds learning readiness skills. In addition to the benefits to children and families, this is an opportunity to strengthen state agency partnerships around common goals and build on exciting investments in early childhood over the next budget year. I'm going to review the budget proposal in more detail in the next slide, but just briefly on the partnership opportunity, as Chair Burke-Harris mentioned, this really aligns with the new budget proposal and with the priorities outlined in Governor Newsom's parent agenda. And this opportunity can really build on increased funding to investments such as home visiting, other health programs like the Black Infant Health Program, and expansion to childcare and preschool for low-income families. We currently have strong partnerships with other state departments like Department of Public Health, Education, and Social Services. And this is an opportunity to expand and strengthen those. So the administration has dedicated $10 million in the proposed budget for this next fiscal year for early literacy and book distribution for early childhood. First Five California is asked to match that with at least a $10 million investment for a total of $20 million. This matched funding will be in partnership with the California Department of Public Health to provide multilingual books and early literacy programming for families with young children in collaboration with other state programs like home visiting, childcare, and foster care. First Five California can assist in administering this funding in a cost-effective and efficient way to get more books into the hands of children and early literacy supports to parents and families, resulting in a high impact and relatively low cost investment. A total investment of $10 million would go a long way toward achieving the goal of improved early literacy for California's youngest children. Next slide. So to truly prepare for California's future and reduce achievement disparities, a solid foundation of early literacy skills is necessary. Roots of the achievement gap start long before children enter kindergarten. A major indicator for later school success is language and early literacy development, and disparities in early vocabulary growth between children from low socioeconomic status and higher income families have been shown in children as early as 16 months of age. Reading can be part of a daily routine that provides stability for children, creates an opportunity for bonding, and enhances cognitive skills. And having books in the home and being talked, read, and sang to is especially important for our dual language learners, as well as for families from countries outside of the US. Those children are less likely to be read or sung to, so it's even more critical to get books into the home and early literacy tips to families. Next slide. So currently, there are several early literacy focused initiatives and programs in California. Looks like we're bouncing around a little bit here, but we'll get back to it. I just want to mention a few to you. So the California Family Book Distribution Partnership was funded by the First Five California Commission and provided over 730,000 books to approximately 111,000 families through coordination with local First Five commissions and existing Dolly Parton Imagination Library programs. Utilizing community relationships and leveraging existing programs resulted in quickly delivering books and early literacy tips to families. Partnerships with local First Fives and established early literacy programs create ideal platforms to build robust, sustainable literacy experiences for families. WIC's Book for Kids is a newer partnership for us with the Department of Public Health to distribute books to families who are receiving WIC services. Through First Five California's existing relationships with book programs, we will assist 22 local WIC programs obtaining books for approximately 20,000 children. We're also working with the California Department of Education on the State Superintendent's Task Force on Literacy and Biliteracy. We provide leadership with Camille serving as task force co-chair and contribute expertise in order to meet the goal that all children will reach literacy by 3rd grade. Next slide. So as I've mentioned, this funding provides an opportunity to strengthen our partnerships with other state agencies. The power of working together toward common goals can be realized through this opportunity, and state agencies working together can reach many more children and families for a truly statewide impact. This is also an opportunity to leverage excuse me, the investments of the administration by focusing our efforts on high impact programs like home visiting, the Black Infant Health Program, and expanded subsidized childcare, among others. This is a whole child, whole family strategy to target and expand to priority populations of children and families via services they already access. Next slide. So we have identified some key aspects of a successful investment in early literacy. Support of early literacy moves us closer towards achieving the North Star. As I've mentioned, books are part of a stable routine and nurturing interactions between parent and child. And as with all First 5 California investments, this would include an evaluation that identifies goals, outcomes, and metrics. This will leverage existing early literacy efforts happening at both state and local levels for highest impact. And it should also be a goal to implement a sustainable strategy to ensure stability over time. This investment should target priority populations, such as children in low-income households, children who are experiencing homelessness, or who are in foster care, and families enrolled in home visiting services. Next slide. So there are many populations and programs that could be targeted as part of this investment, but I'm going to highlight a few just so you can get a sense of the need around the state. So WIC provides supplemental nutrition for low-income women, infants, and children up to age 5. There were approximately 835,000 children who participated in WIC statewide last fiscal year. Children experiencing homelessness could also be a priority population. There has been success in other states in providing books to children living in shelters via Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. And this is an opportunity to provide a book a month to children who are experiencing extreme instability. Currently, children under the age of 6 in California who are experiencing homelessness, there are about 260,000 of them. There are nearly 20,000 young children in foster care, and this is another group of children experiencing trauma and instability who would benefit from receiving books. And then finally, I've highlighted children enrolled in home visiting programs administered by the Department of Social Services and the Department of Public Health. These two home visiting programs together serve about 14,500 children. And I think you can jump to the last slide and I will take questions. I know that was a little quick, but we are trying to move through our agenda. So. We would love to get your feedback. Because as a reminder, we are going to be coming back with a formal request for an investment at our April meeting. So any questions or comments you can provide will really help us to design the funding in a way that meets your needs and meets the needs of children and families.
So in sequence, I saw Commissioner Jimenez, Commissioner Hazen, and then Commissioner Alvarez in that order.
Thank you for that very nice overview and future upcoming recommendation from staff to match the governor's allocation of general funds to advanced literacy in our communities. Obviously, this is a very important activity that our children and families should be partaking in. I think embedding the distribution of books through existing organizations and services that interact with families can not only ensure that a book is provided for that family for their use at home, but really is connected and coordinated with the family receiving supports, whether it be at their WIC appointment, whether it be at their home visiting appointment, or other scheduled visits where there is constant interaction between the family and a case manager, a social worker, a health educator, et cetera. So I do look forward to our discussion in April with respect to this commission's direction on whether or not to match the governor's commitment to literacy.
Commissioner Hazen, you put your hand down, so I don't know who.
I have. I have a 3-year-old with COVID who is here, so give me a minute. I'll go after Commissioner Alvarez.
Okay, Commissioner Alvarez?
Thank you. I just, piggybacking off of Commissioner Jimenez's comments, I wholeheartedly agree that this is such a growth opportunity from where we were in our discussion around book distribution, right? And how we can actually figure out ways in which we can, sorry, I'm in another meeting at the same time, and I'm trying to pause this meeting so I don't have to hear it. I'm so sorry. Okay, now I can focus on this one. Part of what we've done is really figure out how we can maximize the opportunity to distribute books. So I really commend the commission and the conversations that you've been having to try and figure out these distribution opportunities to connect families to the services that they need. Like Commissioner Jimenez said, the book is opening the door to other services and supports that families really do need. And I think even more important is it also enables First Five Commission to have stronger relationships with our state partners that can be leveraged for the future, right? How we can streamline our investments across government agencies for kids and families, knowing that there are tens of millions of dollars going out the door. If we can work more in alignment with that distribution of resources, we can again maximize this opportunity and impact for kids and families. So it's not only a book directly in the hands of a family, it really is a larger opportunity for the commission's work and our mission. And I applaud the work and creativity that went into making this happen. So thank you.
Commissioner Hazen, and then Chair Burke Harris.
Thank you. And I echo everything that has already been said. And I think we have to just make sure that it's not just books, but it's all of the other things that we know kids and families and underlying families need to support early literacy. And so I'm excited to hear when you come back to us what that could look like. I'm also curious about what the integration will look like sort of with early learning providers, but also with TK through 12, the TK through 12 system. So excited and just want to make sure we get it right, because I think as a commission, we've been talking about books for a long time, and books are critically important, but books can't do it all. So I want to make sure we're really thinking about what else needs to go with books. And then I think also appreciate the focus on the priority populations and the nearly 900,000 children you've identified. Might we want to get a little more specific as we think about where the need exists and where we can really drive impact? So just a question to think about before next time.
Chair Burke Harris, and then Commissioner Perry.
I just wanted to voice my strong agreement with what previous commissioners have said and emphasize that integration, as we've heard from previous commissioners around the delivery of the books, but really joining that with the delivery of services. And I do think that this is a really excellent opportunity for us to partner with the child and family serving efforts across the administration. And so I just wanted to add my voice to that conversation.
Commissioner Perry.
Thank you. Thank you, Erin. Really nice summary of everything that's been presented before with the new information about the current budget proposal. And just wanted to underscore that not only is the Department of Public Health looking to partner with First Five California on an early literacy effort, there's simultaneously a proposal to double the size of the California Home Visiting Program. So it would go from serving 3,000 to 6,000 families a year. And those families, as you know, are chosen because of certain risk factors. And the programs that we're allowed to administer are evidence-based programs. This is dictated from the federal government through MICV authorization. And my point here there's also an expansion of the Black Infant Health Program, both administered by Public Health as with the early literacy program. So my suggestion is not to feel necessarily limited by the number that was proposed as a match, but to look comprehensively at what it is the Department of Maternal Child Health is looking to do in the coming years, how it aligns with what you've been working so hard on around home visiting and workforce and equity, and see if that is enough for the kind of robust partnership that would be helpful to the commission. So I think matching is great, but I also wonder if they're not in a position to do more to implement other recommendations that you have developed through your home visiting study and other work. So just wanted to flag that as a possibility for additional partnership.
Commissioner Hazen, was that just a leftover hand or? Okay, not, okay, go ahead, Commissioner Hazen.
One more quick question. Have healthcare providers, physicians, OBGYNs been involved in this conversation, and are they part of the group, Camille, maybe that you chair, or just as I think about trusted messengers and I think about the populations we're trying to serve and how we do this, it just wasn't brought up, and I'm curious.
I think they have not been a part of, certainly the work that we're doing with the state superintendent is focused on, 0 through grade 3. It's mostly education on the education side of the spectrum, and not so much on the health. I think it's a great suggestion that looking at healthcare providers and what they already do and building on that with those partnerships.
Yeah, so I would challenge you all over the next, so like 3 months, to explore those opportunities, partnerships, and alignment, so we can see how we can do this all together. And again, as we think about leverage, are there funds available through health systems that can maybe match our match?
Great, thank you. Okay, we don't see any more hands raised. I don't know if Dr. Burke-Harris, you want to go to public comment.
Yes, let's go ahead and do that.
I don't have anybody raising their hand at the moment.
Okay. So with that, as we said, we'll come back in April with a specific request, taking into consideration the comments commissioners have made today and looking at that. And so we will be, you'll see Erin Doobie again at the next meeting.
You'll see Erin Doobie right now.
Yeah.
Yes, next item.
And moving forward to the next item, in order to prepare for the upcoming budget retreat, staff is going to present information on First Five's current investments, lessons learned, and possible considerations for the future. So I will welcome Jackie to present the overview of the current First Five investments. And then after that, I know everyone is hungry, we'll break.
There is a caveat. I know that we're running over on time, and Chair Burke-Harris, if we need to kind of stop this short and continue at the budget retreat, that's also a possibility. Staff are also aware of that, because I know we have a hard stop. So this is actually, next slide. So the purpose of this information item is to actually provide a very high level summary of the current work that we are doing in preparation of our spring 2022 budget retreat. It includes the initial program goals, what we've learned from our current programs, and recommendations for potential new investments for future consideration by the commission. We know that we won't be likely to kind of go in depth with some of that, and look forward to more in-depth detailed conversations at the spring retreat. This is actually within the frame of the North Star statement. Next slide, please. Which is, again, I love reading this. Commissioner Rizzo, we love it. We spent some time with it. So that we believe that trauma-informed, healing-centered, and culturally responsive systems promote the safe, stable, nurturing relationships and environments necessary to eliminate inequities and ensure healthy development for all children. Next slide, please. What you'll see is that first 5 California's existing investments were authorized before the North Star was adopted, but the presentations you will hear show that First 5 California has long been focused on promoting equity, supporting systems change, and ensuring children have the SSNREs necessary for healthy development. Through our recent attention of, an application of the impact framework, staff are more laser focused on equity and will share the projects through a targeted universalism framework. Using data to understand how groups of children are faring towards the North Star of having a safe, stable, nurturing relationship environment, here we strive to collect better data that enable us to disaggregate by groups, geography, and other factors that are important to the Commission. We also analyze the gaps that are necessary to assess the opportunity by focusing on structural and systems conditions rather than trying to pathologize kids, people, and communities. We look at the systems and structures designed to promote universal access, and we apply the following lens and questions. Are these systems trauma-informed? Are they healing-centered? And are they culturally responsive? In collaboration with our advisory committee members, we identify short and long-term solutions for transformational changes that improve those systems and promote safe, stable, nurturing relationships and environments for the groups furthest from opportunity. This is actually within a continuous cycle of improvement. We analyze the data, legislation, structures, and conditions, and partner with our states and state and county leaders, our children and families, and other stakeholders. So we again use the data to determine whether or not we are making progress towards the North Star and the audacious goal. Next, please. As many of you know, when we actually developed the North Star and the audacious goal, we identified 4 specific levers. These 4 primary levers, which are we advocate, we broadcast, we are catalyst, convener, and connector. Through these levers, the offices will share with you how they actually use these levers to move forward the work. These offices work hand in hand to support one another, using data as a driving force for policy and advocacy priorities, continuous quality improvement in programs, and provide TA to state and local partners to ensure that the system is well prepared to meet the needs of our children and families. With that said, Erin is back up.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jackie. So I am going to talk to you a little bit about the Early Learning Programs and Partnerships Office and our current investments. So we encompass all aspects of early learning and care, from quality improvement to workforce development to early literacy and to the infrastructure that supports children and their families and early educators. So Impact 2020 is currently First 5 California's largest program investment. And those funds support quality improvement via local implementation, regional support, and state level projects, as well as the shared services pilot. In addition, there are also 2 separate evaluations, one of shared services and one of impact and the larger Quality Counts California system, which you'll hear me refer to as QCC. Next slide. So Impact is making a difference in supporting the workforce to provide safe, stable, and nurturing relationships and environments for children. Approximately 8,500 sites are now participating in Impact and QCC, serving over 347,000 children. Sites funded by Impact include family childcare, family friend and neighbor, alternative settings like home visiting programs, and private centers. Funding from Impact supports the early learning and care workforce with coaching, resources, and other professional growth opportunities so they can provide the highest quality experiences for young children. Core focus areas include social emotional development, warm, responsive adult-child interactions, and family engagement strategies. Impact 2020 funding began just months after the pandemic hit and has made a huge difference to centers and family childcare homes, especially during a time when children and families were most in need of stable childcare arrangements, family support, and other resources. Our funding helped address emerging health and safety needs, COVID-19 prevention practices and resources, parent engagement and support, child social emotional needs, and trauma-informed practice. Consortia reported that over 90% of sites participating in Impact and QCC were able to remain open during the pandemic, and that was largely attributed to the supplemental funding and support that QCC and Impact provide. For the workforce, we provide access to training and other resources like coaching and stipends. Virtual coaching during the pandemic was a critical support to teachers and providers in order to keep environments safe for children and provide trauma-informed care. So one great example of the work is the Tribal Child Care Association of California. They used our funds to partner with Brazelton Touchpoint Center to address the traumatic effects of the pandemic on tribal communities, providers, families, and children, and how to best support, overcome challenges, and heal with strengths-based approaches. In LA last year, trauma-informed care was also offered to Quality Start LA, TK sites, and home visitors. Next slide. So I'm not going to talk much about this because you just heard about early literacy, but just wanted to mention it is one of our primary strategies to support nurturing environments, mitigate stress, and address learning readiness, and we hope to see it continue in the future. Next slide. So Impact is also one of our longest running investments, and we've learned over the years how essential it is to partner with counties and regions to support the workforce. Impact provides funding to counties and regions to provide stipends, access to coaching, training, and higher education, and all the resources needed to provide safe, stable, and nurturing environments. So something that surprised us over the last year was an increase in the number of sites participating in Impact despite the pandemic. Counties reported that Impact was absolutely critical to COVID response. For possible future investments, we see inclusion of more family childcare homes, family friend and neighbor providers, and other sites that don't have access to resources and supports. We would also recommend creating a targeted approach to deliver coaching as a primary strategy to supporting sites new to Impact without access to other resources. Coaching needs to be job embedded, and teachers need opportunities for professional development, such as coaching that they are compensated for and that is provided during times that work for them. We also have ideas around strategies to better support a whole family approach through individualized support to access resources such as health insurance, housing, and social services. Next slide. So in order to create the type of safe, stable, and nurturing environments we want for our kids, we need a strong and coordinated infrastructure for early learning and care that is sustainable. To provide stability for children, the workforce needs to have stable supports and funding to meet their own needs. While we have long been aware of inequalities in the system in terms of access to resources and high quality services for children, families, and the workforce, these issues have been highlighted by the onset of COVID-19. The cracks in the system continue to deepen, and we need to think strategically about how to repair them and rebuild a better system. Childcare revenue does not support the full cost of high quality services or a livable wage for the workforce, and providers are frequently asked to do more for no additional compensation. In the future, we envision a more integrated and aligned system of quality improvement with a professional development system that addresses the interests and needs of the entire field, from assistant teachers to coaches, with a focus on high quality coaching and supported by effective and accessible online training and resources. Revised quality standards that incorporate equity throughout and specifically address the experiences and access of those who have been most marginalized through systemic racism. Continuous improvement and data collection processes that empower the workforce and elevate parental choice, and streamline costs achieved by additional automation, virtual opportunities, and a provider-centered participation approach. We hope to continue our close partnership with Department of Social Services and Department of Education to support this vision, and we're looking forward to working with the Program Advisory Committee about future investments in early learning and care. And that's all from me. I will turn it over to Debbie Silverman.
Thanks, Erin. So the office that I'll be talking about today is the Prevention, Equity, and Opportunity Office, otherwise known as the PEO office. Good afternoon, or almost afternoon, commissioners. The PEO office oversees projects that improve state and local capacity to coordinate, build systems, and reach more families who could benefit from services but lack access. The projects take a targeted universalism approach and are aligned with the North Star statement and audacious goal. You see the list of projects in the PEO office on your screen. You did ask about the refugee funding, so let me quickly give you an update. We have a webinar scheduled with counties on February 3rd to share the scope of the RFA as we finalize it. We anticipate releasing the RFA for funding in late February or early March, and anticipate the 1 year, the 12-month of funding beginning by July 1st for 12 months. Next slide. Relationships and environments are safe, stable, and nurturing for DLLs when services are delivered using culturally and linguistically responsive approaches. For refugee families and families eligible for home visiting services, it's imperative they are trauma-informed and healing-centered as well. And for many families in small population rural counties, they face geographic barriers to service access. So efforts in the PEO office focus on supporting workforce quality and effectiveness, building capacity of local county implementers, and promoting coordination among cross-sector child and family serving systems. Next slide. So first I want to talk about the DLL pilot, which we have funded since 2016, and it's coming to a close in June 2022. We know that 60% of California's children are DLL, and most enter kindergarten still well behind their peers due to lack of ECE infrastructure with agreed upon strategies to support DLLs. The 3-phase pilot was designed to understand effective and scalable professional development, instructional and family engagement practices, and what it would take to embed those practices into the early childhood system, particularly as we rebuild from COVID-19. So we have 4 years of qualitative data from the evaluation and qualitative information from county experiences, so both quantitative and qualitative information that has led to the release of 8 reports to date and several more on their way. There are many success stories, but there are significant challenges. And due to time constraints, I'll focus on our next steps and recommendations. First, counties are begging for statewide guidance. So we first propose integrating a focus of DLLs more intentionally into QCC and future impact investments. That integration should address some key areas that ensure all children have SSNREs that are particularly focused on the needs of DLLs. As Erin mentioned in her summary, coaching is an important support for teacher competency. However, there is a shortage of coaches who speak languages other than English and Spanish, such as Hmong, Farsi, and Samoan. There are very few colleges that provide coursework in languages other than English. Translation of materials, training, and family engagement resources is costly when it's done at a county by county level, and it's inefficient. And there needs to be a statewide approach for a unified manner of translation and sharing these things. Counties would like effective instruction for DLLs integrated into the QCC rating matrix to expand what's already being piloted in San Francisco and Fresno counties. AB 1363, the bill to have a tool to identify young DLLs, was a great start. But it doesn't go far enough. We need to ensure that this is completed in all ECE settings. And importantly, we learned from this pilot that DLL children do perform better when the assessments are conducted in their prominent language, in their primary language. So we need to invest in assessments in the home languages that children speak. Next, we can play an important role at First Five in dispelling misinformation about the benefits of bilingualism. There are educators and families who still believe that children will be confused if they hold on to their home language. And so our counties are asking for help with a statewide message for various audiences, such as educators and ECE K-12, the public and policymakers. Next. The home visiting workforce study is completed. I sent you a link to the press release and the report last week on January 19th. And we learned that a well-prepared workforce is essential to ensure home visiting reaches the families it's designed to serve. However, home visitor turnover and cultural mismatch can disenfranchise already marginalized communities. Retention and workforce well-being came up as factors that should be studied further. So we are working with the researchers to delve into that data a bit more. We're also looking more closely at one of their key recommendations to develop workforce competencies for home visitors and supervisors. The study acknowledged that the workforce is both diverse ethnically and experientially and tend to come from the communities they serve. But at the same time, we also know that 2/3 of supervisors said it was really hard to recruit qualified candidates, and many faculty don't even know that home visiting is a profession to send students to. The study concluded with recommendations that promote home visiting as a profession by establishing cross-model competencies for both home visitors and supervisors with multiple pathways, a statewide training platform to help meet those competencies and ongoing training needs, as well as a pipeline to recruit home visitors from the communities they serve. So we are proposing to continue our collaboration with the First Five Association, DSS, and DPH to look at this topic of competencies and pipeline a bit further, using a portion of the already approved $24 million authorized by the Commission in 2019 for that home visiting coordination. Next slide. So our data, because that $24 million investment was really about home visiting coordination, we funded 50 counties to really look at home visiting coordination and work on coordinating systems of home visiting and integrating home visiting into other family and child serving systems. We know that of the about 800,000 families with children birth to 3, about 1/3 of them are living in poverty and are eligible for home visiting services, but we have slots for less than 20% of those families. And now with the new state investment, we may have slots for about half of those families. But we can serve more families by coordinating better, because there are vacant slots that are not just due to the pandemic. Some of them are due to lack of culturally responsive services. But we really don't know that much about our home visiting programs in California, nor do we really know how many children are actually being served by those services. Yes, we know about those programs that are being funded through DSS and DPH, but those are only about 50% of the programs operating in California. We don't have a common definition of what home visiting is for local models to draw upon. And counties are reporting that they implement local models because the evidence-based models that are currently approved in the state plans and through federal funding don't actually meet the cultural needs of their families. In order to promote family needs, it's essential that projects that they share data across the home visiting programs and with other family support services. Yet half of the counties participating in the coordination funding say that there's a significant barrier to data collection, standardization, and sharing across programs and organization. So our potential new investments will investigate these areas further. These projects would draw upon, again, some of the original $24 million authorized by the home visiting coordination funding from the Commission. And there's about half of that funding that is remaining to be used to improve home visiting coordination. I know that I've mentioned that twice now. So there's about $12 million that we still have left to work through. That was intended to be earmarked once we learned more through the workforce study and the coordination efforts. We're looking to fund evaluation of local programs that are being implemented in multiple counties so that we can expand the list of evidence-based programs that are eligible for CalWORKs, McV, and Title IV-E funding. We also know that there's other technical assistance and equity-related needs that the counties have brought up, and this funding could support those areas. We're looking with DPH and DSS at these reports and the findings from both of the funding efforts, and we'll be coming back to our advisory committee with final recommendations very soon. I now turn it over to David Dodds for information about the research and evaluation work we are doing. David?
Thank you, Debbie. So I'll be talking about the projects within the Research and Evaluation Office. The Research and Evaluation Office works with staff, partner agencies, and contractors to carry out research useful to policymakers and evaluation to assess effectiveness of program investments. Examples of contracted research include the California Health Interview Survey, the Emergency Child Care Bridge Evaluation, and the ECE Workforce Study. Examples of evaluation of commission investments or programs include the evaluation of the Kit for New Parents and Impact 2020 that Erin previously mentioned. Debbie also previously mentioned two projects shared across offices, which include the Home Visiting Workforce Study and the DLL Pilot Study. Next slide, please. Research and evaluation provides us with data and knowledge about California's families with young children and the people who serve them, such as early educators or home visitors. Both parents and providers of early learning and care are critical to providing safe, stable, nurturing relationships and environments for children. An example of research about the family population of California is the CHIS survey. First Five California is the primary funder of the Child Questionnaire in that survey. An example of research on the provider population is First Five California's funding of the UC Berkeley ECE Workforce Study. That's a comprehensive survey of childcare providers throughout the state. Examples of evaluation include the Emergency Child Care Bridge Evaluation. The Emergency Child Care Program is funded by the California Department of Social Services and is implemented by county child welfare offices, early care providers, and is being currently evaluated by the Child Care Resource Center. It also has co-funding with First Five San Bernardino and Heising Simons Foundation. Along with the North Star and audacious goal, internally we've embarked on efforts to identify both population and program level data that can inform us about who we reach. Especially, we want to know more about who we reach within equity-related data categories such as poverty, race, ethnicity, language, including dual language learner status, and other characteristics. Additionally, we are consulting and planning on how best to communicate these data, potentially through dashboards or other visualizations, reports, briefs, or infographics. Next slide, please. As the primary funder of the CHIS Child Questionnaire since 2001, First Five California has enabled the research and publication of more than 60 peer-reviewed reports and articles about the well-being of California's young children. Additionally, CHIS data are made available free to the public through the Ask CHIS query tool and Ask CHIS Neighborhood Edition mapping tool. Approved researchers can also access public use microfiles. As part of CHIS contracts with UCLA, First Five California has funded special focused topical reports that have been developed by UCLA researchers or also the Public Health Institute. These include topics such as developmental screening, the Talk, Read, Sing media campaign, the well-being of families with young children in California, and decadal trends in well-being. CHIS also measures the reach of two key investments by First Five California, particularly the percent of parents who know the Talk, Read, Sing message throughout the state, and the reach of the Kit for New Parents by demographic characteristics. Currently, and looking to the future, the Evaluation Office is reviewing all programs and contracts related to evaluation to create more common data categories across projects, especially for equity-related data. We are also hiring staff and assessing methods and technologies to communicate these data through visualizations such as dashboards. Currently, we have developed a dashboard for the Quality Counts California Consortia to show QRS ratings and demographics of children and providers. We've also developed a test dashboard for annual report data. Key features of data visualization include the ability to see trends across time and to compare groups for disparities and eventually the reduction in those disparities based on our investments. We intend to develop an even greater capacity for data visualization in the future. Next slide, please. For our impact investment, we have learned about the importance of quality. Specifically, using data, we've been able to use the QRS rating data to understand the investments that the participating sites have made. And recently, research is underway to look at the relationship between tier ratings and child outcomes. And we expect that to be published later in February. Looking to the future, we need to make sure that ratings are affordable and inclusive, whether by setting type, provider type, culturally and linguistically, while at the same time maintaining research-based validity for ratings. A key area for future work is also how to best engage family childcare settings in quality improvement. They're a special population, a special group that we need to outreach to. Looking to the future, we also need to support development of the early childhood data ecosystem within the state of California, ideally to become more integrated and transparent. Currently, First 5 California funds the local QRS data systems, and data is aggregated into something we call the common data file. And we also fund the ECE Workforce Registry, which is used throughout the state. At the Department of Social Services, the Brilliant Beginnings effort seeks to address more integrated data around early education and early childhood. So some of those efforts are underway. Next slide. Following the California Children and Families Act that directs us to invest in systems related to early childhood, we've learned the importance of collaborating with partners across systems. For example, impact related to quality improvement in early learning. Also in the dual language learner pilot study, how to integrate among providers, institutions of higher education, and Quality Counts California. Also, Debbie has talked about the home visiting program. Another program is the Small Population Counties program, which also supports technical assistance related to systems building. Now I'd like to pass the baton on to Max Fargas, who will talk about the work of the External and Governmental Affairs Office. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And I know we're coming up on time, so I'll just cover this a little bit in overview. Listed out are some of the investments we touched on already on some of the advocacy work, of course. Kit for New Parents is also one important component of their EGA, as we dub it, and the media campaign as well, which is one of our larger investments. We can move to the next slide. In terms of alignment to the North Star, part of it is covered a bit through how we approach on the advocacy side, legislative and budget proposals, ensuring that they're addressing the systems change we're looking for, including trauma-informed systems, healing-centered systems, culturally responsive systems. I think one point of fact, one example of that even in the work around some of like the literacy investments or proposals therein, such as the governor's proposed budget and the literacy investment he's proposed, is development of a plan that would include how it integrates with multiple systems of delivery, and also how to ensure that it's the delivery of multilingual and accessible books, right? So that just one example of how that's kind of manifests itself through our advocacy work, the sort of lens we apply. On another front, we also look at how we can ensure we're reaching parents and caregivers in some of the more targeted programs, whether that be like Head Start and some of the budget asks and requests they may have to serve their populations, Medi-Cal families, and those who are non-English speakers. One example on how the Kit for New Parent program is deployed, we do ensure that we're reaching Medi-Cal recipients and families. And so that's one example of how we're able to parse out the targeting both geographically, but also by even enrollment and programming like Head Start or Medi-Cal, where we anticipate there may be been historically less access to services or programs or higher need. And so it's a way that we can leverage that programming. And we can move to the next slide. Some of what we've learned runs differently across some of the spectrum, whether it be advocacy or the media work. On the advocacy front, we do know that coordinating across organizational work, network work is really key, but also being able to leverage media opportunities for that work. So that's where we've found strength in including the PR component, and now baking that into our media effort gives us a little bit of synchronicity across our larger scale media investments, so that it aligns with our even advocacy pushes when needed. Some of the things we've also learned and noticed is some of the remaining gaps, in awareness of some of the issues that affect younger children. I think case in point, Commissioner Alvarez noting her participation on the Mental Health Commission to advocate for early childhood mental health. One area where we found, I think there's great interest, new investments, but also newfound territory to raise awareness around particularly the 0 to 5 space. On the new investment front, I noted the federal advocacy here because we've just ramped that up and we had a chance to meet Letty. We're in the process of a strategic advocacy support services RFP development. And in addition to that, I would note that from our prior discussions around investments in sort of refugee assistance and how we can think systems-wise around how we can support families in need, especially in areas where we've had a strength or have a great interest, like early care and education. We're talking internally at the moment around how we might develop a childcare microenterprise entrepreneurship push. A federal model that we've looked at is a multi-year effort, so it's kind of a longer term push, usually about 3+ years, the way the program's been developed under the federal programming. The models of that nature may allow us to help address childcare deserts, but also culturally responsive and accessible childcare for families, both refugees and other families in areas that are facing childcare needs. So that's a bit of the programming we're still considering and discussing internally. And I'll stop there and conclude with some of the points that we've been looking at.
So that's it for our presentations. I think we have 1 minute for questions, but again, this was really meant to give you some background. So at the budget presentation, at the budget retreat, you all have an updated knowledge of where we are with our current investments and programs. So Dr. Burke-Harris, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Camille, and thank you to the team for that very thoughtful and informative presentation. And now we will take a break so that we can all nourish ourselves. And at 1 o'clock, we will go into closed session. And following closed session, we will return to adjourn.
Just need to announce that we're going into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 11126A.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Camille.
just to make it legal, so.
And just a quick clarifying logistical question, leave this Zoom and then use.
We will leave this
differently?
Zoom and we will go get on a separate Zoom for closed session.
Great,
Yes.
thank you. 30
Thanks,
minutes.
everyone.
And we will send out the link again to close. the
Okay, yes, 1 PM. We'll see everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
There you go.
Okay, nice to see you all again. We had a nice chance to have lunch together, so thank you for that.
That's wonderful. And yes, we don't have just very much in the way of remaining business, simply moving to adjourn.
Do you need to report out about closed session at all, Marcia?
Oh, yes, that's right. Go ahead, Marcia.
We don't actually have to do a report in this circumstance, but the only thing I would say is that they met to consider a personnel action or personnel matter, and no action was taken.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned at 2:30 PM. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Welcome, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Good to meet you.
Nice meeting everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, well, that gave everybody a little bit of time today to